What up, YouTube? This is Steven, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to do a review slash analysis of the 2017 Power Rangers movie. And I'm going to come at this from an angle of kind of like race, gender, a little bit of sexuality, and also throwing a little bit of pro-black consciousness stuff with the review too. And I'm going to be referencing the TV show and making comparisons between the TV show and the movie, as well, possibly even the movie from the 90s and this movie from 2017 as well. So, yeah, a whole lot of stuff popping off here, right? A whole lot. So let's get into this. All right. So, speaking about the movie, 2017 movie, overall, I enjoyed the movie. However, there were some slow spots in the movie, and some things didn't quite make sense, and some things were a little too convenient. But Power Rangers never did have a very riveting plot line. I mean, the best plot lines were really revolved around, like, probably the Green Ranger, and those got redundant, and then it was a White Ranger, redundant, etc., right? Those are probably the most riveting plot lines in Power Rangers. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So yeah. So let's speak about the cast. Let's talk about the cast first. I don't know the new actors' names. Not important. Except maybe Becky G. I know her. But yeah, so we got the new cast of Power Rangers, right? And this new cast here is a little different than the previous cast from the television show. They switched around the genders. Scratch that. They switched around the races of a few of them. Well, a couple of them. A few of them. Okay, let's go in order. Let's go in morphine order. All right, we're going to go in morphine order. So, Mastodon. All right, so Zach is the Black Ranger. In the TV show, Zach was African-American / black. This time around, they changed Zach to be Asian. I think he's Chinese. Based on the language that he was speaking with his mom, I think it sounded like Chinese. Could have been Korean. I'm not sure. So yeah, I was like, and when I first found out about this, I was a little disappointed and a little like, why y'all do that? Like, why y'all do that? Because, you know, I like the original Zack character. You know, even though, like, I know the actor, Walter Emanuel, who played Zack on the television show, said that, you know, they did kind of make Zack be a little stereotypical, and you know, during the pilot for the television show, probably when they were still calling them like phantoms or whatever, he said like they wrote the script here and they had him saying like "what's up" like over 10 or 20 times, and like everyone, so he's like going in the thing and he's like "what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up," like repeatedly, like again the stereotype, the whole kind of like white people writing scripts for black characters. Yeah, a little weird. And also a sidebar, Karen Ashley, who played Aisha Campbell later on in the Mighty Morphin series, she spoke about this too, how like every so often they'll try, like the writers will try and throw in a line that, you know, for the character Aisha to say that's kind of like, you know, quote unquote black, you know, like I don't know, she didn't give an example, like, you know, probably like, I know that's right, girlfriend, you know, something like that. But she said that she would never say those lines, and they were cool with it. They didn't really force her to try to do those lines, but she basically said that, you know, Aisha's from the valley. Like, she ain't no, they kind of make her sound, you know, kind of like, maybe like hood adjacent, you know, not necessarily like a hood chick, but maybe like a chick who's a black chick who's adjacent to the hood. Okay. So yeah, Zach is now Asian, Asiatic. All right. Possibly Chinese, possibly Korean. I'm not sure. Um, Next, um, we have Pterodactyl, and that is Kimberly. All right, so in the original show, Kimberly was portrayed by a Caucasian female, Amy Jo Johnson, and Kimberly, very Valley Girl-esque, very stereotypical Valley Girl. Um, in the movie, not so much stereotypical Valley Girl in the movie. Um, well, I guess she would be kind of like the popular chick, maybe, who's fallen on bad times, knocked off of her high horse or throne or whatever. And the actress who plays Kimberly in the 2017 movie, she is actually, I believe, like Anglo-Indian. She's a mix of like European and East Indian. So yeah, technically, I don't know how she identifies herself in real life, but depending on how she identifies in real life, I guess we could count that as a person of color. Another person of color. But then again, she's white passing. If I didn't mention it, would you know that she was, you know, at least like partially a person of color? Like, like she was related to a person of color? Possibly not. Maybe her hair texture. She didn't. But then again, you can change your hair texture. So, but yeah, if I didn't know that, I probably wouldn't peg her for being Anglo-Indian. I've seen Anglo-Indian folks, and you can kind of tell, like, if you look at them, you can kind of see, like, okay, the skin is light, but I can see some, like, facial features and whatnot that kind of matches up to the Indian aspect. All right. All right, so next we have Triceratops. All right. So Billy, Billy Cranston, aka William Cranston, originally in the television show, Billy was white, European, Caucasian. In the movie, Billy is black / African American / African. I guess I could say like black / African parentheses American. And initially, I didn't like the switch up initially, but I did think it was pretty cool to kind of like give black nerds and black geeks sort of like someone to relate to in the movie, And I think they never specifically stated this, but in the 2017 movie, I think Billy may suffer from autism or perhaps Asperger's, based on the way he kind of like maybe interacts and slightly obsesses over some things, possibly. But they never mentioned it. But yeah, he could also be, a voice for, autistic black children or black people as well. So I did like that aspect, and also Billy is known as like he's the smart one too, and I like that aspect because a lot of times black people aren't really associated with intelligence. Usually the intelligence is associated with the Asian person, and of course white people. So I did like that. Let's see, and let's see. I guess I said all I can say about Billy for the time being. So, saber-tooth tiger. All right. So in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the original, Trini was Asian. She was Chinese on the television show. I believe she was Chinese, but in reality, in real life, she was Vietnamese. Her name was Thuy Trang, or Thuy Trang, or I think it's Trang. But yeah, in real life, she was Vietnamese, and her family came over during the Vietnam War. I think she may have had background in either dance or karate. Um, and also, I forgot to mention this earlier, but back in the day when you wanted to be a Power Ranger and you auditioned, you had to be one of three things. You had to be a martial artist, a gymnast, or a dancer. So Tui Trong was I think she was a dancer, but I want to say she was a martial artist. I'm not sure. Unfortunately, Tui Trong, she passed away. Unfortunately, she died in a car accident. No, she got into a car accident and she wasn't wearing her seatbelt, and she was flung out of the vehicle into traffic, unfortunately. So please, please, please remember to wear your seatbelt. Um, there's too many stories about that where the person could have survived if they had just worn their seatbelt. So remember to wear your seatbelt, please. All right. So yeah. So I think Twee was either a dancer or a martial artist. I'm not sure. I heard she was a dancer from the actor who played Bulk and Skull, which, by the way, they weren't in this movie. Bulk and Skull weren't in this movie. That's a little strange because Bulk and Skull was usually in like a lot of the Power Rangers series. You know, they were there for a while, and I think one of them actually became Power Ranger at one point. Yeah. All right, so now we have Tyrannosaurus. All right, so Red Ranger. And, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, let me go back. Becky G, she's a Latina. So on the TV show, she was like Trini was originally Asian on the TV show, Chinese. In this movie, Becky G plays her, so I'm guessing she's a Latina. They showed some scenes of, Becky G portraying Trini and her family kind of looks kind of like Latino-ish, at least Latino adjacent. So that was a switch up there. So we got a Latina up in the mix now. So again, Becky G probably kind of is like white passing, perhaps, but the thing is, like, Becky G's been out there for a while, and she has portrayed roles, and she claims her Latin heritage, and it's not like she's trying to hide it or anything like that, or doesn't acknowledge it. And as well, she's very popular in the Latin American community in the United States, and she has also portrayed Latinas in previous acting roles. So. So we can count her as a person of color, right? POC. All right. So last but not least, definitely is Jason Tyrannosaurus. Yeah. All right. So we got Jason here, and Jason is originally in the TV show. He is Caucasian, white, European, and in the movie, same thing. Same thing. I don't think the actor who plays him is like part of any has any biological ties to any group of color, AKA I don't think he has like a non-black parent, well, a non-white parent. My bad. So yeah, so there you have it. And he's the leader, as he was the leader in the TV show and whatnot. So yeah, that's the breakdown of the Rangers. And also, I forgot to mention that a few things, like I heard somebody saying like something floating around like Trini in the 2017 movie is like a lesbian or gay or part of the LGBTQIA community, and they kind of hinted at that for a little bit. But I only know about it because of spoilers. By the way, don't post a spoiler in the title of a YouTube video. Post it in the, don't post it at least say spoiler alert, but don't post it in the title of the video. We can't avoid the title of the video because I'm looking at videos, not even looking for spoilers. I'm just like, okay, and then it's like, oh, Trini is gay. Thanks. I would have been happy finding that out watching the movie and surprised. But thanks for ruining my surprise. So yeah, I was like, oh, but in the movie, they don't really go and talk about it much. Again, it's hinted at very subtly, for a quick second, and then they move on. I thought they were gonna, and I don't even think she really claimed it. So I'm guessing she maybe is like having some struggles with her sexuality or something like that. So maybe she don't know how to define herself right now. I don't know. So yeah, and the gender thing, no genders were, the gender of the characters were not switched around this time around. Well, they weren't in the Mighty Morphin thing anyway, but back in like Super Sentai, the Yellow Ranger was originally a male, but they made him a female in the American version, Power Rangers. All right, so let's get into the movie. So I'm going to kind of like give my take of the movie, go through it by like the major scenes, and give my analysis as well. All right, so the movie starts off on like Jason doing some very country bumpkin white folk stuff. He's like bringing a cow into a locker room. Again, some very country bumpkin white folk stuff. And apparently the police show up at one point, and then he's like driving and gets into a car accident, and then we see him after the car accident and with his dad. His dad's disappointed, and his dad was like, there were scouts coming to see you play football. Now that's over with. Parentheses, you're a failure, right? And he's like, basically, okay, Dad, okay. Then he gets out and goes into the school and goes into detention for some reason, where Kimberly and Billy are located in. And some bullies bullying Billy, and Jason steps in. However, I'm like, does Jason really... I don't know. It seems like, is Jason... I guess maybe Jason... Because they seem to be portraying Jason as kind of like the, jock, athletic dude of the school, the star athlete of the school. Like, would he really be that type of a dude who would be, kind of like looking out for people who aren't popular, or people who aren't considered popular? You know what I'm trying to say. Like, would he really be down for, I guess, that type of person who's really I guess he is. But I just kind of felt the scene was a little forced. The whole him coming to the Billy's rescue, taking on the bully, a little forced. Then Kimberly goes into like the bathroom to meet up with her soon to be ex BFFs. I guess Kimberly like tweeted some, or like sent some picture out and whatnot, and lied and said her boyfriend did it and she punched him or whatever. I don't know. So it's showing Kimberly as being like, a very messy girl. Like a mean girl on the low. A mean girl on the low. So after detention, Billy and Jason are talking, and Billy asks Jason to hang out and to take him to some mine that apparently his dad used to work at. And again, in the original series, we ain't have no mines. In the original TV show, there was no mines. Angel Grove was a very picturesque, sunny town somewhere in California. Here, this is not so much of a sunny town, but kind of a cloudy town, and probably somewhere in Canada. Easier to film in Canada. Much cheaper. Less regulations. All right. So yeah, so at this point, things seem a little bit forced, a little forced. But I'm going with it. Again, Power Rangers is not the most riveting storyline, and plus they only got like 2 hours to like get this movie going and get to the whole big shebang. So we gotta force it a little bit. So long story short, Jason's all like, "No, I can't go because I'm on house arrest because I'm gonna crash the car and put a cow in a locker room or whatever." And Billy like, I can take care of that. I can remove the thing for you or whatever. And then Jason declines, goes home. But then for some reason he decides to take Billy up on his offer, and he goes to Billy's house. And then Billy takes the house arrest bracelet off his leg. And then they drive to like this mine area, and Billy's been, I guess, doing stuff at this mine area for a while. Right. This just happens to be the day when Billy goes up there with Jason. Kimberly is also up there. She's like, swimming for some reason up in the area where that's restricted. Ain't no one supposed to. And also, if this is a restricted area, ain't nobody guarding this place. It's Power Rangers, y'all. It's Power Rangers. And then also Zach's in the area, and he's like spying on Trini, like a stalker dude. And he's like on the train or something. Let's see what else we got. So yeah, one way or another, they all wind up culminating into the same area, and Billy blows up this area of the mine. And when he does that, he reveals the power coins. And Billy, of course, he takes the blue because he's meant to take blue, and Zach takes black because he's meant to take black, and etc., etc. Right? So at this point, based on like gender stereotypes and race stereotypes and sexuality stereotypes or whatever, I don't even think there's much sexuality stereotypes. I don't know. So at this point now, they are like, they do this and then the cops show up. So everyone's like scattering and running. Billy and Jason get into the car. They driving off. They see Trini and Kimberly, so they pick them up. Then they see Zach. Well, he like jumps on the top of the car. I don't know how. I guess because he has the power from the morphing coin thing, so he was able to do stuff. So then they're trying to beat this train. They're trying to cross the tracks before the train does. And you think they would do it. Because I'm sitting in the movie theater. I'm like, okay, they're going to do it. I don't see them not doing this, right? But they don't. They get hit. The van gets hit. Bam. And then the van goes spinning. But they survive. How do you think they survive? Because of the power coins, right? So at this point, they finding out things, and they're like, seeing all this, weird stuff happen to them, and they're like, how did we survive? I'm super strong, and some other stuff. So they go through that, trying to figure out things. Then they come back, right? They come back to the place, and they want to do some more, exploration, exploring. So they do that. They wind up swimming, going down to this, swimming down and uncovering this like secret area that's the spaceship or whatever. So they get in there, and it's kind of like locks them in, and like they notice that they're not alone anymore in this place. So they hide, and then Alpha finds Trini and pulls her or drags her, and then he calls the others to come over. I think Zach tries to help Trini, but ends up, Alpha takes him out. And by the way, I kind of wish that Alpha was a little bit taller. Although I do like Alpha's reworked personality. It's less annoying, and much more effective than the one in the television show. But, I just wish that Alpha was a little taller. I guess they made him smaller, maybe to appeal to like kids, maybe, perhaps. Um, so yeah, we are at this point. We meet Zordon. Um, And I forgot to mention the way that this movie opens. It actually opens with a bit of backstory on Zordon. Because in the TV show, we didn't get a backstory with Zordon. As far as I know. Especially not in Mighty Morphin. It was just, this is Zordon. It didn't really give us much of a backstory on this dude. And we supposed to just, just trust him. He good people, just trust him. um, so, apparently, back in the day, back in the day, like, I forgot which era they is saying it, but, the era when, like, dinosaurs literally roamed the earth, back in them days. Zordon was a Power Ranger. Shocking. I didn't know that Zordon was a Power Ranger back in the day. And he was the Red Ranger. And his team more or less got defeated by Rita, who also used to be a Power Ranger. I didn't know that either. Because back in the TV show, they never mentioned Rita being a Power Ranger. Back in the TV show, they discovered Rita on the moon. And they uncovered her. And she's all like, after 10,000 years, I'm free. It's time to conquer Earth. And also in the TV show, like, Rita was extremely campy. Extremely cheesy, but in the movie, they do kind of hold on to that aspect of Rita, but they also make her darker, though. So she does have that aspect of her still there. So, when they discovered all this, when the Power Rangers discovered all this in the movie, Rita's also being uncovered too. I don't know how that happened. I don't know. Like, Rita just happened to be discovered at the same time they discovered the power coins. That's awfully convenient. Again, I tell you, Power Rangers did not have a very strong storyline here. So yeah, they talk with Zordon and whatnot, and he, explains things and shows them a glimpse of the could be potential future, because Rita is awake and she's wreaking havoc, or about to, and they're all like, what was that? Yeah. And they try to transform, but they don't. They can't. For some reason, they can't. They can't transform yet. And Zordon's like, you guys have to train. So, obviously in the TV show, they were able to transform very instantaneously. And also in the TV show, the training was on the job. However, the training in the movie that the Power Rangers received, it was, designed specifically for them. They're going against putties, practice putties that Zordon came up with. And these putties are, much more menacing than the putties in the TV show. Putties in the TV show are like very campy and, comical, comic relief, humorous, And a bit of a sidebar. I'm going on a bit of a sidebar right quick. In the TV show, they did civilian fights, and that was the time where, like, the Power Rangers could, like, fight unmorphed, and they could show off their martial arts abilities, their dancing abilities, their gymnast abilities in these civilian fights. A lot of people like the civilian fights. I know that the actors, I think they like the civilian fights too. However, I think they wound up getting some complaints about the civilian fights, so they wound up changing the unclothed civilian fights where they fight, just regular, to them being in their ranger suits fighting putties instead. And They did that, I guess, to show like, okay, they're Power Rangers and they're fighting versus them being actual people and fighting and being violent. As well, they did it to be able to film more scenes in less time, because you can have one person, you have stunt double in the Power Ranger suit filming the Power Ranger scene, while you can have the actual actors filming another scene. So that's partially why they did it too. And at one point, I think they took out the civilian fights altogether. Um, but they brought them back in Power Rangers Turbo. Um, so yeah, that was my sidebar. But back to business. All right. So in so they're training. They're struggling a bit, but they're getting it. You know, slowly but surely they getting it right. And they're coming back and forth to this place like after school or whatever, to train. And I think at one point or another, Zordon becomes very frustrated with them, because I think Zach and Jason wind up getting into a fight. And then Billy breaks up the fight, but when he breaks up the fight, he transforms into the Blue Ranger. But he wasn't able to hold his morph for long, or hold his morphed state for long, because his morph undid itself. So at this point, Zordon's very frustrated, and they're saying like, "Oh, Billy morphed. Well, why isn't he morphed now?" Well, I guess he couldn't hold the morph or whatever. So there's Zordon saying they're not ready. You guys aren't ready, and you guys need to leave, because he feel like they're wasting his time at this point. So 4 out of 5 Power Rangers leave. Jason stays back and talks with Zordon, and Jason's become really frustrated with Zordon, and he overhears Zordon saying like, "Oh, he wants to get out. He wants to get out of this place that he's in, and if the morphing grid is activated, then he can get out." And Jason takes it as, Zordon only thinking about himself and just wants to get out. It's just about Zordon. It's not about them. So they leave or whatever. So when that happens, they all, I think they wind up camping out, and they kind of like talk about their personal lives or whatever. Bit of a bonding experience, and I think that's kind of like what they needed in order to access their, Power Ranger powers. And the TV show, it was extremely straightforward. Just say your dinosaur name. Just get you a power coin, insert it into the thing, and say your dinosaur names. Like, it's morphin' time, Mastodon, Pterodactyl, Triceratops, saber-tooth tiger, Tyrannosaurus, right? Not so simple here, not so simple. It's a lot more complex, In this movie, it's like it's a process to become a Power Ranger. In the TV show, it's like, okay, take this, take this, take this, check here. Here you go. You are officially a Power Ranger. So they talk about themselves, and Zach reveals that his mother is not terminally ill, but she's ill, and he's afraid to sleep at home at night, because when he wakes up, he feels like she might be dead when he wakes up, and he doesn't want to wake up to her being dead. So oftentimes he's in this area hanging out and sleeping here. Kimberly declines to talk about herself because it's too deep. She ain't ready to reveal, what kind of a mean girl she really is. Let's see. Billy, he reveals like his father died, and let's see. Trini, she reveals like her parents don't understand her, and maybe hinted at being possibly gay or bisexual, maybe. So it's a very after school-esque, very Breakfast Club-esque like, such moody teenagers with so many problems. Right, right. Because in the real Power Rangers, these folks ain't had these problems. It was very like, la di da, let's go volunteer at the community center. La di da, let's go clean up the park. La di da, let's go have a fundraiser. Like very, small town esque, la di da, like just having a whole la di da life. But here, these Power Rangers, they got some issues. They got some problems. You so after that, I think, I don't know, I may be skipping a scene, but at one point or another, like Trini is home and she's asleep, but she gets a visit for some reason. I don't know how, but she gets a visit from Rita Repulsa herself, and she's like very close up on her. Like, and she's floating in midair, and she's very close up on her. And Rita's like basically like, "Where is the Zeo crystal?" And Becky G doesn't know. I don't think any of them knows except Billy. He was able to find it somehow. I don't know. Billy be smart. So he was able to find it. Billy was, but he didn't tell anyone else that he found it. But that come up a little bit later. So yeah, like so Trini and Rita, are going at it basically unmorphed. They're fighting each other unmorphed. It kind of like ultimately Rita is stronger than Trini. Trini puts up a fight, but she's not strong enough to take on Rita, unmorphed by herself. And by the way, during all this, like Rita is trying to like conjure up, not conjure up, but like create Goldar, and she's like going after like gold, to create gold. Really, really? Okay. But yeah, she's going after. She's stealing gold and whatnot to create Goldar and to power herself up while they're training and whatnot. So yeah. So after that encounter with Rita Repulsa, Trini, she's like, "Hey y'all, we need to meet." So they meet, and she explains whatever, and then like, "We need to fight her. We need to take her out," But they want to do this unmorphed. I'm like, do y'all? Okay, these Rangers here are not the smartest Rangers, obviously, and I guess Billy was out to lunch this day because he's supposed to be the smart one. So, because you ain't supposed to be taking on Rita Repulsa or any of the like arch villains without your morphing powers, But again, training is a joke, I guess. I guess the training process is a joke with this job. All right. And also, on the not the television show, but in the movie, Zach was able to use the Zord like unmanned, like without his powers or whatever, being unmorphed. It's a little strange. I didn't know you could do that. But I'm thinking, like, if you could do that, then why not just use y'all, steal a Zord or two and try to take on Rita? But they want to take on Rita unclothed, without their Power Ranger suits on, without being fully trained, Kind of reminiscent of maybe like Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, when Luke Skywalker takes on Darth Vader before he was fully trained as a Jedi, and he lost the fight and lost his hand in the fight. And same thing with this here, the Power Rangers lost the fight, and at this point they fight Rita, they lose. She has them tied up, and she's trying to figure out where the Zeo crystal is, and they don't know where the Zeo crystal is except for Billy. And she asks Billy, and he's like, doesn't know. But then she starts to like I guess drain Zach's life energy from him. So then he tells her where the Zeo crystal is. It's near Krispy Kreme. I kind of thought that was a bit of a joke, but it actually is near Krispy Kreme. So I'm guessing, what's the product placement? Did they have like a deal with Krispy Kreme where they're like, give us a couple of bucks and we place your your restaurant here in this movie? Probably product placement. So yeah, so she gets the location of the Zeo crystal or whatever, and they're tied up to this boat, and then she like cuts Billy's rope or whatever, or lets it sink into the water, and the other four are tied up, but she lets them, like after she walks away, she lets them be untied, and they're desperately trying to get Billy up to the surface because he's drowning at this point. Come to find out, Billy actually does drown. I thought that he would be able to survive it. After all, they were swimming around in that cavern for a minute, that underwater cavern, and they didn't seem to have no problem with breathing. But from some reason here, Billy couldn't breathe or couldn't hold his breath long enough. So Billy drowns, thus dying. Yeah. And that never happened in the real Power Rangers. I don't think people died. Not in the Mighty Morphin, at least. Maybe way later in the series, maybe. But yeah, not in Mighty Morphin. So I'm looking at the movie and I'm like, oh crap. But obviously, I've seen scenes of Billy in his morphed state, as the Blue Ranger. So I'm like, okay, if he did, how he get back? All right. So yeah, Billy is dead, And I kind of feel like they made Billy sort of be like the heart of the team for some reason. I feel like they were kind of setting him up to be like the heart of the team. Because he was the first person to be able to morph. He also died. And also, a sidebar, it's always the black person who they want to kill off, right? Why do they always want to kill off the black person? They always want to kill off the black person. I don't know. Very scary movie-esque. But he does come back. Billy obviously comes back, right? So they have Billy's deceased body, and they're bringing it to Zordon, hoping that Zordon can help. Unfortunately, Zordon can't help. So they're just feeling sad or whatever. And they're like, I would give my own life so that Billy could go on. And they all said, basically a variation of that. And the morphing grid activated when they said that. So basically it took them actually caring about each other to actually activate the morphing grid. So, they had to be more than just co-workers. They had to be friends and co-workers too, So the morphing grid activates. And Zordon wants to go through the morphing grid because he will be able to, regain his human form if he would pass through the morphing grid. And we think that he does, based on the way they set it up. However, Zordon does not go through the morphing grid. Instead, Zordon allows Billy to go through the morphing grid, thus regaining his life. So Billy died, but then was able to come back to life, come back to our side of the world because he was able to go through the morphing grid. They didn't really expect, go into details about it. But, Billy's back, coughing up water. So, he's down. He's back. We got the power of 5, and we in it to win it. So they get on to their respective positions and morph. And I think at this point Rita's going crazy, and she's summoning her putties. I don't know. Do they call them putties in the movie? I don't know. But she's summoning her putties or whatever. And also summoning Goldar too. and they're morphed now, so they're feeling powerful and whatnot, and they're fighting the putties, and then they start to use their Zords, and they play the Mighty Morphin theme song. There's like, "Go Go Power Rangers," which, by the way, I think they used the same exact song that they used in the '90s movie. I don't think they remixed it or anything. I think they just, like copied and pasted onto, this movie, this scene in the movie. Because this sounds pretty much the same. Listen to the song in the movie and then listen to the song from the '90s movie. I think it's pretty much the same song. I kind of thought they should have did a remix of the song, though. I think so. I think at this point, so much time has passed, I think it sort of deserved a remix to an extent. But they declined for a remix. I guess, they just didn't feel like doing it. So they're using their Zords and they're like fighting Goldar now, Power Ranger power. And of course, like, they're doing it like as there's respective Zords. They're not like the Megazord yet. So they're trying to fight Goldar. They're all going in. And by the way, I kind of feel like the character development, like, I felt like Zach's character didn't get much time to shine. I kind of felt like Becky G's character could have had a little bit more screen time. I feel like they sort of concentrated on Red Ranger the most, then they concentrated on Billy, and then Kimberly. So yeah, they're fighting Goldar. Rita's at the Krispy Kreme. She eats a Krispy Kreme, so it seemed like she liked it. And did y'all notice that they were playing Destiny's Child, "I'm a Survivor" for some reason? It's like, "I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up, I'm not gonna stop." What? Like, that's kind of random. I'm like, okay, all right. I guess Rita's a survivor. So yeah. So that is where the morphing grid is located, at the Krispy Kreme, the town's Krispy Kreme. They're finding it there, or Rita's found it there, and she's opening this big hole that's like filled with like lava or whatever. And they're, it seemed like they defeated Goldar, but then he comes back because I think Rita kind of like gives him more energy. So then he comes back, and then Goldar was able to subdue the Power Rangers. By the way, I kind of miss Goldar having a voice, even though his voice was a little cheesy in the TV show. But I kind of missed that a little bit, because Goldar did have like a personality, but in this movie he didn't have a personality. Also in the TV show he had a personality, but in the movie he didn't. Also in the TV show, Goldar, I don't know, he looks sort of like some type of a flying ape or gorilla. But in this movie, he looks like kind of like the flying part, but not so much the ape or gorilla part. So yeah, and also I want to give a shout out to Pink Ranger Kimberly. I think she was kind of like the MVP of the fight when it came to the Zords, actually, and I think that was a good shout out for the Pink Ranger, and females in general, because I kind of felt like she was that MVP because she was helping people with her Zord. She was able to use her Zord to pick up other Zords, so she was able to pick up and get Zach out of a tough situation, and as well pick up Billy, and as well pick up Jason too. Ultimately, Goldar subdues them and pushes them all into the lava, and we're like, "Oh no, they're goners! They're done for!" But at that point, I was figuring, they're probably going to morph into or transform into the Megazord, and they do that. And by the way, when I was at the movies, after the movie was finished, this lady turns around and says, like, y'all know this is Voltron, right? Or something like that. And I felt like the way that the Zord looked in the movie, the 2017 movie, it did sort of look like Voltron. And I'm not like super familiar with Voltron, but I have seen it before in my life. Back when it used to air on Toonami, and back when Toonami used to air. Yeah, so I do remember, have at least a vague idea of what Voltron is. And yeah, I guess we could say that. That's an argument, right? That's a valid argument. But back to this. So they in the Zord, they fighting. They are the Megazord now. They were able to all transform. And they have a bit of comic relief, which was never done. They had some comic relief with the Zord, which was never done in the television show, because I guess the Japanese footage wouldn't match up to that. But they try to control the Zord, but then they fall because they're not in coordination with each other, which I kind of wonder, like, how does the Zord actually function? So I'm guessing one person is like manning the leg, the left leg, the right leg, the left arm, the right arm, etc. I'm guessing that's how it's going. So they fight Goldar, and defeat Goldar, and then Rita appears outside of Goldar, and then she's all like, basically talking smack. And then Becky G, Trini, uses her arm to smack Rita, and she smacks her to the moon, from what it looks like, So yeah, the town is saved. Yeah. Oh yeah, and by the way, Jason saved his dad too, which was pretty cool. I kind of wish they would have did like a sort of a hint, nudge, nudge when it came to his dad, where Jason sort of kind of slightly reveals his identity. Maybe they could have had him said like, sir, give me your hand. It's okay. Because see, I think his dad was hesitant to take help from him because he didn't know if he was good or bad, but he winds up taking the help from him and notices that he's good. But I kind of thought they could have did that when they kind of like hinted and maybe had Jason there like, Dad, like what? But I thought that would have been a good thing to add to the movie. A little bit of development, character development, perhaps in the next movie. But they are not supposed to reveal their identities as one of the rules of being a Power Ranger. But yeah, but that wouldn't be Jason purposely revealing his identity though. But yeah. So yeah, back to business. Rita has been smacked into outer space. Seems like she's headed for the moon. I think there. Let's see. So that happens, and then the townspeople gather around. And you may have missed it, perhaps, but two very iconic characters, or rather actors, from the Mighty Morphin series made a quick cameo in the movie. Amy Jo Johnson, who portrayed Kimberly, and Jason David Frank, who portrayed Tommy. They make a quick cameo in this movie. And I think that's pretty much the only two people that Saban is really on good terms with from the Mighty Morphin cast. Because I think he done screwed over everybody based in that cast. Like he screwed over the original Black Ranger, Red Ranger, Yellow Ranger, because they wanted raises. So he's like, nah, y'all get out of here. We ain't giving no raises. Then he brought on the replacements for those. Aisha, Rocky, Adam. He brought them in, or the actors, those characters and actors to portray them in. And then Kimberly left at that point, but Kimberly left on good terms. They phased Kimberly out with a storyline, a very confusing storyline, but nevertheless, she was phased out of the story, the Power Ranger story. And at that time, they phased in Catherine while they were phasing out Kimberly. So then Karen Ashley, who plays Aisha, was like, I want to, I'm leaving or whatever. And they're like, we want to phase you out like Kimberly, give you a storyline too. But then she don't get the storyline. And, Karen Ashley feels some type of a way about that. She didn't appreciate that. She wanted the storyline to be phased out in the storyline, but she wasn't. They just like, okay, you go to Africa now. They sent her to Africa. And then they brought in the character Tanya, who was played by Nakia Bariste. They brought her in the Zeo cast. And then the character Rocky, he wound up leaving the cast. And Rocky, who's portrayed by Steve Cardenas, in real life, he wound up like leaving him, forming like some karate school or whatever. But his leaving wasn't really controversial. He just left, you know. Then Jason David Frank wanted to leave, and then once he left, they just fired everyone and started with a whole new cast. So you know, Saban, he ain't treat his people well. He didn't treat them very well. He didn't pay them very well either. And from what I heard during that time, the show was not union. And when it comes to actors often want union jobs because those are the jobs that come with like you know, benefits basically, and possibly residual income as well. And also, it's like certain things when you are part of a union that you have to receive as an actor when you're part of the actors union. But the job was not union. It never became union when the show became like super popular. And a lot of the actors resented that. And also the actors were not being paid very well, very low wages for what they were working, or for the amount of hours that they were working on set. Sometimes it was like 12 hours, you know, 12 to 16-hour days on the set. You know, that's a lot of the time. And they weren't getting paid a lot of money. They don't get residual incomes for when the Mighty Morphin episodes air in reruns. They don't get any money from those reruns at all. So the original cast of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers did get screwed over by Saban. And that's terrible. That should not have happened. And I think Saban is cool with Amy Jo Johnson and David Frank the most. Those were probably his favorite actors from the show. And they also, you know, they played their part too. And, you know, Saban kind of did look out for them. You know, Saban gave Amy Jo a part in a movie called Susie Q, and he also let Amy Jo come back to the movie, the second Power Rangers movie, Power Rangers Turbo the movie. He let her come back. And Jason David Frank, he let him come back as a Power Ranger like years later, as a Power Ranger. So he kind of, I guess, looked out for them too. The rest of them, he could care less. When it came to the actor who portrayed Billy on the TV show, he left, and he left from what he said under very bad terms. The actor who plays Billy is gay. He's a homosexual. And from what I heard, there was like, you know, words said, you know, slurs being said or whatnot. And I guess he just got tired of that and he left, you know. And also, David Yost goes into depth about, I guess, his struggle with his sexuality. And it's like it's on you can find like an interview of it on YouTube, and ultimately I think that kind of led him to have somewhat of a mental breakdown at one point, but you know, he's back in good mental health now. And since we're on the subject of, I guess, sexuality, Trini in the movie, again, hint hint nudge nudge, she's homosexual, right? Trini in a television show, there was actually a hint, hint, nudge, nudge with her, too. It's a clip of Trini on YouTube, and the actress is doing an interview as Trini for like kind of like the Power Rangers show. She's like the actress Twee Trong. She's doing an interview as the character Trini, right? And they kind of ask somewhat of a question like, does Trini want a boyfriend or whatever, something like that. And then Trini responds like, no, I'm not interested in a boyfriend. Um, I can have all that I need for my friends. So basically, possibly a little bit of a hint, hint, nudge, nudge that, Trini perhaps is not. I don't think that would necessarily make her homosexual, but I think that would make her more so asexual, which a lot of people don't really acknowledge. But yeah, asexual people who perhaps may default to straight are asexual people who may default to gay, yeah, etc. you know. So yeah, I guess there was a tiny bit of a hint, hint, nudge, nudge with Trini in the TV show too, about possibly not being, I guess, quote unquote, heterosexual, maybe. So I guess I guess I could speak on a couple of more things. I want to give a shout out to the Mighty Morphin replacements. Like the characters, Aisha and Adam and Rocky and Catherine. I want to give them a shout out too, and I'm going to speak a little bit about them because I do like those characters, and I also like the actors who portray those characters. They do like Power Ranger Morphicon events as well as convention shows too. And they speak with the fans a lot, so I want to kind of give them some acknowledgement a little bit. So if you like those characters, stick around. If you don't, I guess this is a good time for you to leave. But don't leave, stick around though. All right. So as you know, back in the day, the original Black, Red, and Yellow Ranger, they left the show. They were boycotting it. They were on strike, and they got fired. So they had to pick up 3 new replacements, which were, the actors Karen Ashley, Johnny Young Bosch, and Steve Cardenas. And you notice, like, this time around, they switched around, the gender and the races this time around of the Power Rangers. Because originally, well, I guess they didn't totally switch around the genders, but they switched around the races. All right. So the Yellow Ranger at this point now is black. However, the actress who plays her, Karen Ashley, is actually black and Mexican Indian. Just in case you didn't know. I didn't know that until she had mentioned it on her radio podcast show, Uncensored Radio, also known as Unscripted Radio too. At one point it was going by Unscripted Radio, but then it went to Uncensored Radio, and then Uncensored Talk when she what she has on YouTube now. But yeah, the actress Karen Ashley, who played Aisha, is actually part African American and part Mexican Indian. So yeah, just a little tidbit for you. So I guess we kind of had a Afro Latina in the mix, and we a lot of people didn't even know it. They didn't write that into the script. They just made her black though. The actor Adam, or the actor who portrayed Adam, Johnny Young Bosch, is actually part white, part European and part Korean. And his last name, Bosch, or Bach, is actually his mother's last name. When he was auditioning for this role and he got it, the producers and whatnot wanted to have had a talk with him, and they were kind of like bringing up his Asian ancestry, because I think they wanted him to portray the Asian character on the TV show. And however, he got his last name from his father, and his father's white, so Johnny had a European last name. And the way that he looked, since he was Eurasian, since he's Eurasian, he might not totally register with people as Asian, and I think they wanted to make sure that he registered as, you know, Asian when people saw him, his character. So basically, Johnny changed his name to Johnny Young Bob. And also, the actor did speak about, like, after he left the show, or after, you know, the show left them or whatever, he did have difficulties finding work because he wasn't Asian enough for the Asian roles, and he wasn't white for the white roles, you know. And then we have Steve Cardenas. In real life, Steve Cardenas is actually, you know, part part white and part Mexican Indian. And they did kind of write that into the script a little bit, at least, because they did name his character Rocky DeSoto. DeSoto. So I guess he possibly was the first Latino Power Ranger. So they did sort of, you know, at least reference the actor's heritage, and it seemed like they maybe wanted him to be like the Latino character, I guess. But for me, I kind of viewed him as being white. I don't know how he identifies himself in real life, you know. Nor is it really my business. I'm just saying. I don't know how he identifies himself in real life. Does he consider himself white, Mexican, a mixture of both, none of the above? I don't know. So yeah, and then Catherine Sutherland, she is Australian, white, a white person from Australia. So yeah, I guess I've said all I have to say, I think. So I hope you enjoyed watching this. I hope you were able to get some, you know, some information out of this. I know it's probably going to be something I forgot to mention, and I'm going to be like, dang it, I forgot to say that. But I guess it's time for me to bring this video to a close. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, you guys. And if you made it to the end, I thank you very, very much, because I know this video was a long video. And if you did make it to the end, please let me know. Let me know by typing or posting the phrase